My name is Lena Carter. I was 29 years old the day my parents told me I owed them my life. Not figuratively, not emotionally, financially. It happened on a Tuesday night. No warning, no build-up. Just one sentence that changed everything. You owe us everything. My mother said it like it was obvious, like it was fact, like it had always been true. We were sitting at the dining table, the same one I grew up eating at, the same one where birthdays were celebrated, where report cards were judged, where silence was louder than words. And now it felt like a courtroom. My father sat at the head of the table, arms crossed, watching me like I was a case he had already won. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it didn't make sense. "What?" I asked. "You heard her," my father said. "We raised you, paid for your schooling, supported you. Everything you have is because of us." Everything. That word sat heavy in the air. "I never asked you to pay me back," I said carefully. My mother leaned forward. "That doesn't mean you don't owe it." Something about the way she said it, cold, calculated, certain, made my stomach tighten. The ask. That's when they told me what this was really about. "We need money," my father said. "Of course you do." "How much?" I asked. He didn't hesitate. 15,000. I blinked. 15,000? "Yes." "For what?" My mother answered this time. "Your brother is starting a business." "Of course he is. My older brother, Ryan, the golden child, the one who never failed, because failure was always someone else's fault." "And he needs my money?" I asked. "You're his sister," my father said. "I'm not his bank." The room went still. The guilt begins. My mother sighed, that dramatic, disappointed sigh. "We sacrificed everything for you, Lena." There it was, the script, the same one they had used my entire life. "We gave you an education." "I worked through college," I said. "We gave you a home." "I moved out at 18. My father's jaw tightened. "You wouldn't have anything without us." That sentence, that was the one that didn't sit right, because something in my mind didn't agree. The uneasy truth. I had always believed I built my life myself. Late nights, 2 jobs, student loans, no help, no shortcuts. So why were they so confident, so sure? "You're exaggerating," I said. "No," my mother said calmly. "We're reminding you." The pressure. They didn't yell, they didn't argue. They did something worse. They made it sound reasonable. Family helps family. You're successful now. It's time to give back. Each sentence layered with expectation, each one pushing me closer to saying yes. And for a moment, I almost did. The pause that changed everything. But then my father said something small, careless. "You've been benefiting from our support for years." Benefiting. That word stuck, because I didn't remember that, not clearly. And that's when something shifted. Not anger, not resistance. Doubt. The question. "What support?" I asked. They both looked at each other, just for a second, then my mother smiled. "You don't even realize how much we've done for you." That wasn't an answer, that was avoidance. The decision. I stood up slowly. "I need to think about this," I said. My father nodded, confident. "Take your time," he said. "You'll do the right thing." The right thing. I walked out of that house with one question in my head. What exactly did I owe them? And more importantly, was it even true? Because something didn't add up, and when things don't add up, you check the numbers. The setup for everything. That night, I opened my laptop, logged into my bank account, started scrolling. Transactions, years of them, and somewhere in those numbers was the truth. Because if they were right, the records would prove it. But if they were wrong, then this wasn't about family, this was about control, and I was about to find out which one it was. I didn't sleep that night, not because of the money, but because of the certainty in my parents' voices. "You owe us everything." People don't say things like that unless they believe it, or want you to believe it. Either way, I needed proof. The first step. At 11:47 p.m., I opened my banking app. The glow of the screen lit up the dark room. Transaction history. 5 years, 10 years, every deposit, every withdrawal, every transfer. If I owed them anything, it would be here. What I expected. I expected to see support, maybe hidden payments, tuition help I forgot, bills they covered, something, anything. But what I found wasn't what I expected. The first red flag. I scrolled back to my college years, age 19, 2 jobs, late nights, minimum sleep, and the numbers reflected it. Small deposits, freelance payments, part-time wages, no large transfers, no parental support, nothing. The first doubt breaks. I leaned back, frowning. That's not right. Because if they paid for everything, where was it? The deeper dive. I went further, and that's when I saw something strange. A recurring transaction. Same amount, same date, every month. $450. Outgoing, from my account, to a name I recognized instantly. Carter household account. My parents. I froze. The second shock. I clicked one transaction, then another, then another. Month after month, year after year. I had been sending them money, not the other way around. The realization begins. No, I whispered it out loud, because this didn't match their story at all. The pattern. I kept digging. The transfers started when I was 18, right after I moved out. Rent assistance? No, this wasn't occasional. This was consistent, expected, automatic. The memory returns. And then it hit me. A conversation, years ago. My mother standing in the kitchen, smiling softly. It's just a small contribution until you're fully independent. A small contribution. $450 a month for 7 years. The math. I grabbed a pen, started calculating. 450 times 12 equals 5,400. 5,400 times 7 equals 37,800. I stopped writing. $37,800. I stared at the number. That wasn't help. That was support. But not from them. From me. The truth shifts.
I had been
My
supporting
hands
them.
went cold.
The final
because
proof,
suddenly
but I
everything
wasn't
flipped.
done, because
They didn't
something
support
still
me.
didn't make sense. Why would they say the opposite so confidently? Unless they believed I didn't know. The hidden layer. I checked one more thing. Old emails, archived folders, receipts, agreements. And then I found it. A document. Subject line, Family Contribution Agreement. I opened it slowly. My name, their names, and one line that made everything clear. Monthly support payment to assist household expenses. Support payment, not rent, not repayment. Support. From me. The betrayal fully revealed. I sat there, in silence, because now I understood. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't misunderstanding. This was manipulation. They had rewritten the story, turned my help into their sacrifice, turned my money into their generosity. The shift. And just like that, the guilt disappeared completely. Because you can't owe someone who owes you. The new question. Now I wasn't asking, do I owe them money? I was asking, why are they lying? And the answer forms. And the answer was simple. Because they needed something again. And they thought I wouldn't check. The calm before the storm. I closed my laptop slowly, took a deep breath, and for the first time since that dinner, I felt calm. Not emotional, not reactive. Clear. Because now I had the truth. And the truth is the most dangerous thing when someone is built on lies. The plan begins. I didn't call them the next day, or the day after that. I didn't argue, didn't defend myself, didn't even mention the money. Because the moment you have proof, you don't rush, you prepare. The new energy. Something inside me had changed. The confusion was gone. The guilt was gone. And in its place, clarity. Because now I knew exactly what this was. Not family pressure, not emotional misunderstanding, a strategy. And if they were playing a game, then so was I. Step 1. Control the timing. I knew one thing about my parents. They cared about appearances, not truth, not fairness, appearances, which meant they wouldn't push me privately forever. They would escalate. And when they did, it would be public, right on cue. 3 days later, my phone rang. Mom. I let it ring once, twice, then answered. Lena, she said, voice soft, too soft. Have you thought about what we discussed? Of course you have. I have, I said calmly, and I paused, just long enough. Let's talk about it properly. She hesitated. What do you mean? I mean, not over the phone. Silence. Then, Sunday dinner, she said. There it was. The stage, the audience, exactly what I expected. Perfect, I replied. Step 2, gather everything. Saturday was preparation. Not emotional, not dramatic, precise. I printed everything. Bank statements, transaction logs, transfer histories. Highlighted, organized, dated. Then the agreement, family contribution. I printed that too, because words matter, especially when they're written. Step 3, stay calm. That night, I practiced something most people don't. Not what to say, how to say nothing. Because power doesn't come from yelling, it comes from control. And I wasn't going to lose mine, not this time. Sunday arrives. I walked into that house at exactly 6:02 p.m. Same house, same table, same setup. Nothing had changed. Except me. The players. My father at the head of the table, my mother to his right, and my brother Ryan already sitting there. Of course he was. This wasn't just a discussion. This was a setup. The opening move. Glad you came, my father said. I smiled slightly. Wouldn't miss it. Dinner started normally. Too normally. Small talk, polite conversation, like nothing had happened. Like they hadn't asked me for $15,000. Like they hadn't told me I owed them everything. The build-up. Halfway through the meal, my mother put her fork down. There it is. Lena, she said gently, have you made a decision? All eyes on me. Ryan leaned back in his chair, relaxed, confident, like the outcome was already decided. The trap closes. This business opportunity won't wait, he added. Of course it won't. It's important, my father said. Family comes first, my mother finished. The same lines, the same script. But this time, it didn't work. The calm response. I nodded slowly. I agree, I said. They looked relieved. Too early. The first shift. That's why I brought something, I continued. I reached into my bag, and for the first time, their expressions changed. Not fear, not yet, but curiosity. The papers hit the table. I placed the stack down, neatly, organized, undeniable. What's this? My father asked. I looked at him, calm, steady. This, I said, is what I actually owe you. Silence. The tension rises. My mother frowned. What are you talking about? I slid the first page toward them. Bank statements, highlighted. Go ahead, read. The first crack appears. My father picked it up, looked at it, then looked again, slower. Ryan leaned forward. What is that? He asked. I didn't answer, because the truth was already on the page. The shift in power. My mother grabbed another sheet. Her eyes scanned quickly, then stopped. Her fingers tightened around the paper. Lena, she started, but she didn't finish, because now they were starting to understand. The silence before the explosion. Nobody spoke, not for a full 10 seconds. And in that silence, everything changed. Because for the first time, they weren't in control of the story. I was. And this time, there was no rewriting it. The final setup line. I leaned back in my chair, folded my hands calmly, and said, I think we should go through the numbers together. Their faces? Completely different now, because
I
the
owed
version of
someone
me they
my day.
expected
No
didn't show
mental
up,
checklist of
and the
who needed
version
me,
that did
no
came
background
prepared.
pressure, just
Nobody spoke.
peace.
Not immediately.
3 days later,
because the
my
moment
father
the papers
texted.
hit the table,
Just one message.
something shifted.
Got your paperwork. No apology, no explanation, but also no argument. And that mattered more. A week later, my mother called. I let it ring once, then answered. Her voice was different, quieter. Lena, she said. No performance, no drama, just my name. We're not going to ask you for money anymore. Straight to the point. I nodded even though she couldn't see me. Okay, I said. She waited, like she expected something else. Gratitude, relief, submission. But I didn't give her any of that, because this wasn't a favor. It was a boundary. The new dynamic. Things didn't magically get better. We didn't suddenly become close, but something important changed. They stopped seeing me as a resource, stopped assuming access, stopped making decisions for me, and, most importantly, they stopped asking. Ryan. A few weeks later, Ryan texted me, Hey. That was it. No requests, no manipulation, just, hey. I replied, Hey. And for the first time, it felt like a conversation, not a transaction. What they learned. They didn't change overnight. People rarely do. But they learned something important. Not from arguments, not from emotions, from facts, from boundaries, from consequences. They learned I wasn't the version of me they could control anymore. What I learned. For years, I thought being a good daughter meant giving more, asking less, staying quiet. But I was wrong. Being a good daughter doesn't mean being a convenient one. The truth about owing. Here's what nobody tells you. You don't owe people access to your life just because they were there at the beginning of it. Love is not a debt, and if someone tries to turn it into one, that's not love, that's control. The final shift. A month later, we had another family dinner. Same table, same chairs, same people, but everything felt different. No tension, no hidden agenda, just normal conversation. Because the unspoken rule had changed. They knew where the line was now, and they weren't crossing it. The real victory. The victory wasn't proving them wrong. It wasn't the money. It wasn't even the documents. The real victory was this. I didn't have to explain myself anymore. Final line. They said I owed them everything, but the truth? I never owed them anything I didn't choose to give. The first
and once
reaction.
I stopped choosing
My
it,
father cleared
they
his
finally
throat,
stopped
picked
asking.
up the top sheet again. This doesn't mean anything, he said, but his voice didn't match his words. It was tighter, lower, careful. The calm response. It means exactly what it says, I replied. No emotion, no raised voice, just facts. Monthly transfers, I continued, from my account to yours. I tapped the highlighted lines. $450 every month for 7 years. Ryan leaned forward. Wait, what? The brother wakes up. This is nothing, my mother snapped quickly, too quickly. Just small contributions. $37,800 is small? I asked. Silence. Ryan blinked. 37,000? He repeated. And just like that, he wasn't relaxed anymore. The story starts cracking. My father put the paper down. You lived under our roof, he said. No, I replied. I moved out at 18. You still depended on us. For what? I asked calmly. No answer. The second layer. I slid another document across the table, the agreement. Maybe this will help, I said. My mother froze. She recognized it immediately, but Ryan didn't. He grabbed it, started reading, and his expression changed, slowly, from confidence to confusion to something else. The truth hits him. Monthly support payment from Lena to assist household expenses. He looked up. Wait, She was paying you? Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. The control slips. Ryan, it's not like that, my mother said quickly. Then what is it like? He asked. And that question did something no one expected. It turned the spotlight on them. The collapse begins. My father stood up. This is being taken out of context. I shook my head slightly. Then explain it. He opened his mouth, closed it, because there was nothing to explain. The final push. You said I owe you everything, I said, my voice still steady, still controlled. But according to these records, I tapped the stack again, you've been taking from me for years. The room turns. Ryan leaned back slowly, processing. So you're asking her for more money? He looked between them, after she already gave you almost 40,000. No one answered, because there was no answer. The mother breaks first. We raised her, my mother snapped. There it is, the last defense. Emotion. She wouldn't have anything without us. I nodded slowly. I'm not denying that. That threw her off, completely. The final blow. But raising your child, I continued calmly, is not a debt. Silence. Sharp. Clean. And if it is, I slid the last paper forward, a full summary. Total transfers, $37,800. Then I think I've already paid it. The end of control. My father didn't sit back down. He just stood there, looking at the papers, at the numbers, at the truth. Ryan steps back. I didn't know about any of this, Ryan said quietly. And for once, I believed him, because his reaction wasn't defensive, it was real. The shift is complete. The dynamic at that table? Completely different now. They weren't the authority anymore. They weren't the victims. They weren't even in control. The final line. I stood up slowly, picked up my bag, and looked at them one last time. You said I owe you everything. A pause. I think we're even. The walk away. No one stopped me. No one argued. No one even tried. Because what could they say? The numbers had already spoken. And numbers don't lie. The door closed behind me with a soft click. No shouting, no dramatic exit, just silence. And for the first time in a long time, that silence didn't feel heavy. It felt clean. The drive home. I sat in my car for a minute before starting the engine. My hands weren't shaking. My heart wasn't racing. There was no guilt, just one clear thought. It's done. Not the family, not the relationship, but the version of me that kept saying yes when I meant no. That version was gone. What I expected didn't happen. I expected my phone to explode that night. Calls, messages, accusations, but nothing came. No, how could you? No, you embarrassed us. No, guilt paragraphs. Nothing. And that silence said everything. The first change? The next morning, I woke up at 7 a.m., made coffee, sat by the window, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like